So this review is probably slightly overdue, but it's something that came towards the end of the year, and I just couldn't get to them, despite the fact that I really wanted to. I haven't even really had a chance to crack them open until now. So we are going to be taking a look at the last set of Figuarts for The Last Jedi as far as what came out in 2017. We've got to start, we've got the little bonus BB-4, so this came with the 2-pack, not a lot to show. Cardboard box, he's actually not even in there. We've got our REY figure. Let's get her out of the glare. So we've got REY in the window box, standard Figuarts packaging, and then we've got the other final Praetorian guard. This is the one with the whip staff is what they call him, but he's really the more mainline Black Series release. That's his counterpart, the one that has the spear or lance and just the standard helmet, not the one with the roof tile on it or the Knights type helmet. So pretty standard Figuart boxes. You've seen them before. You've seen them on this channel before. So let's not waste any time and crack them open. Alright guys, so here are the figures out of the packaging, and the main focus of this review is clearly going to be REY, because she's brand new in every aspect. We've seen the droids before. This one's just a variant on what we've already seen. And then we've got a new guard, but he's obviously just the same thing that we've already seen, but with a new head sculpt and with a different weapon this time around. So we're going to start with BB-4, and then we'll do the guard, and then we'll do REY. So let's move her out of the way. Let's move him out of the way. And here is BB-4 himself, or herself maybe. I'm not really sure. So he's a brown, or she is a brown ball with some shading on it. Now one thing that I know for sure is wrong on this droid is that there should be a resistance emblem on this guy somewhere. Just on the side or something like that. You see him on the Radis, if I remember correctly. I think he might also be on the base at the beginning of the movie. But you see him just rolling around. I assume it gets destroyed at some point, possibly because he's around the hangar when that scene happens. But as far as the droid goes, it's similar to the other Resistance unit to BB-2, but this guy has a different type of scope that comes out, and this one has a antenna this time, similar to what BB-8 has. Again, they have no weight to them, so they can't really stand on their own. They just fall over. So they come with a little clear disc that they sit in. Yeah, so not the greatest pack-in for these. I'm starting to really wonder if I care enough about them at all, but it's a cool little bonus, and you don't have to pay any extra for it, really. So, yeah, BB-4. All right, and next up is our Praetorian Guard. So we've already seen this guy twice in the line already. He just has a different head sculpt this time around. So he's got the, just, I guess, the more standard style of helmet. There's the first release figure that was the one that has like the dinner plate on his head. The second one is the one that has the more traditional knight style helmet. And then this guy is the one that we got first in the Black Series. So if you want to correlate the two, you know, this is, like I said previously, this is the guy that is the main line release in the Black Series. And he is most associated with this type of weapon, which I think is sculpted well. It looks nice. The red corresponds to the red on the figure. And he does, of course, have other weapons as well, which we'll talk about in a moment. Because this particular guard type appears to use both weapons in the movie. But as far as the figure itself goes, you know, check out my other reviews. I'm not going to go in depth on this guy. I think they're great figures. The only real thing that some people get hung up on, and it doesn't really bother me too much, is the elbow here, because we do lose a little bit of the aesthetic nature of the armor because of the Figuart style joint. You know, the Black Series went with a full covered joint, and it hinders articulation. So you have to pick your poison. You either hinder articulation or you get to see an exposed joint. For me, I don't care. I think it looks good. The only real difference with this guy is his weapon assortment and the helmet style. This is my second favorite of the three. I like the previous guard, the one that has the knight style helmet, the underbite one is what a lot of folks call him. But I dig this design too. So excellent figures all around. I think they're really cool. How could you not like this guy? So let's take a quick look at his accessories, and we'll start with his weapons. So, you know, first of all, we've got this guy here, the kind of spear, javelin, halberd type weapon. He also comes with two other weapons, which we have, you know, now that The Last Jedi is out, and if you haven't seen it, you know, spoiler alert, I guess, but come on. We do have the sword, which is just, we've seen this with the previous guard as well, with a red hilt, silver blade, just like 3 pieces that come to a point, and it's actually relatively sharp. I poked myself quite hard with it earlier, not realizing the bottom is just as sharp. And then he also comes with the whip. So this weapon is this weapon. If you haven't figured that out yet, this guy becomes this guy. It's like an electro whip. So if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what we're talking about here. So in the movies, and just to talk about this again, I know I've said in other videos before, there are 8 total guards. There are 3 of this style, there are 3 of the underbite style, and there are 2 of the dinner plate style. So 2 of this type use this weapon, 1 of them uses these. 2 of the underbite use the heavy blade, 1 of those uses these, and then there are 2 of the dinner plate style guards that have the double blade. They just use those weapons only. I can safely say that that is the assortment after painstakingly watching that scene. So if you're trying to build your scene up, that's what you need to go for. I do dig these weapons. I think they are very nice. They are well constructed, good assortment. Of course, you know, you really don't need more than 1 of each if you have only 1 guard. So I've got this one came with all 3 guards. So I've got quite a few at this point, but I can't argue having too many accessories. So obviously this is a Figuarts, so let's talk hands. This is the same assortment we got with the other guards, so there's not a whole lot of surprises here. He has got 2 closed-fisted hands. These are what he comes in the box with. He's got 2 open style pose hands, and then he's got 2 gripping closed hands so he can hold the weapons. Not a whole lot to choose from here, specifically for a Figuarts, but there aren't a whole lot of other necessary hands for this guy, so he comes with what I think is exactly what he needs. Nothing less, nothing more. And lastly here is REY, and for the most part I am pretty happy with this figure. I don't really have any major gripes with her. There are a few things that do slightly bug me, but overall she is a nice addition to the line. Obviously to get a new character is a little more exciting than to get a rehash of a guard, so she was definitely what I was looking forward to the most, not to mention the fact that we've not gotten her in this line until now. So there are a few things that I will talk about that don't necessarily sit right with me. They're not too crazy, but overall I think she's a cool figure. I like her sculpt. I like her likeness quite a bit. It's very, very good, especially on this face. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So articulation, we'll just do that real quick. Head can swivel, she can look down. Neck also has articulation, and since we're talking about it, you know, that does play a role into this kind of unsightly neck joint that she has. So it's skin on skin. So I don't know if there's really a way they could have fixed this or to stop it from occurring, but you can clearly see where her neck meets her chest, and it's just kind of an unsightly collarbone type joint. You know, at first I kind of stared at it because it's hard to miss. Ultimately, it's not a huge deal. They had to do what they had to do to give us the standard of articulation for the line. And I think this is where they had to be with it. You know, she's not wearing anything clothing-wise on that portion of her body, so what are they going to do? That said, you know, it doesn't look great, but I understand why it's there. So, again, neck can go down, up, so she's got pretty good range of motion on the head. Arms can swivel out. They can go all the way around. There is no bicep swivel, which I find myself continually looking for. It's not there. There's no cut. There's no rotation at the elbow either. We do have the standard Figuarts joint at the elbow, so she can go pretty far up. That's a solid elbow joint there. And then we have the standard Figuarts wrists with ball jointed and hinged wrists there, so plenty of movement. She has upper torso movement, so she can rock back, kind of lurch forward a bit. There is movement at the waist. It's like a double ball peg in there. Legs can go pretty far out, but eventually all of the rubbery plastic is going to stop her, especially this piece here. It's only going to go so far before it starts to restrict that movement. There is the Figuarts drop down joint, so it moves a little bit. Legs can go pretty far out. Even despite that, there is a twist at the thigh, and then we do have standard Figuarts knee, so there's a lot of movement there. Rocking and hinged ankles, so plenty of movement all around in terms of the lower half of the body. The only real places that I wish we had a little more articulation was on the arms, because there are some, well, there's one shot in particular on the back of the box that shows her holding her lightsaber in a very specific way, and while I did manage to achieve this look, which you'll see at the end of the video, it took some serious work, and I feel like the fact that there is no swivel at the bicep really makes it hard to pose her in some of the more dynamic ways, especially the one that is shown on the back of the box where she's holding the lightsaber kind of at an angle down in both hands. That just kind of presents its own problem. So if there was a little more rotation on the arms, I would have been able to achieve some poses a little bit better. Again, I was able to do it, but, you know, it took probably far longer than it really should have and led to a little bit of frustration on my part as well. So articulation's good, it's not great. Now, as far as the sculpt and the overall design of this figure, I think it's pretty spot on. The head sculpt in particular, using the face printing technology, does look a lot like Daisy Ridley. Certain angles look better than others, but I don't think anyone can deny that as far as just a static expression, I think it looks a lot like her, and I'm very, very impressed with the overall appearance here. The overall look of the figure, I think, is great. The wraps are, you know, they're not soft goods, they're rubbery plastic, which I do like soft goods when they're implemented correctly, but I also really dig this style of sculpt work. You know, you can actually see the wrinkles, you can see how it hangs, and it's not something that's left to a flimsy piece of fabric. It's something that is there with a purpose, really, and I really like it. I think the coloration on it is very nice. Overall, the look and feel of this figure, I think, is very solid. I don't have any real gripes with how she looks. It's mostly just a little bit of articulation problems here and there. And then when we talk about accessories, we'll kind of talk about another pain point for me, at least in terms of just getting things to work together correctly. So with that said, let's talk about accessories. So we have got, at least as far as the configuration we've got here, this obviously isn't how she comes out of the box. She comes with 2 fist hands, closed fist hands, and no lightsaber in her hand. She does have the gun in her holster, which is nice, and this thing's actually sculpted pretty well. I do like it. I think it has a nice, solid look and feel to it. The black handle, the little bit of paint that's on it, and then the overall sculpt work is really nice. I'm not really ever going to use it, I don't think, but it's nice to have. It's part of the character, so I appreciate the work that went into it. The lightsaber itself, I think, is sculpted really nicely. Obviously, the blade's going to show up a little bad here because of my background. It shows a little purple-pink to me on the camera, but it is, you know, the Skywalker saber. It's sculpted well. It actually comes apart at the middle. I don't know if that was intentional based on the movie or not. Probably not. It's mostly just how she gets it in her hands. And that is one of my problems. In addition to the issue with not being able to get her to kind of move her arms correctly with the poses I was trying to get, getting her to hold this lightsaber can be a challenge at times because it's only going to go so far. So if you have it in this hand, for example, she can't have it any further in than this, and she also cannot have her hands over top of the button here. So you're going to have a gap. There is really no good way, without kind of forcing it, to have her hold and have both hands touching each other while gripping the blade. It's just kind of a frustration point for me. It's not necessarily bad design or anything, I don't think, but it does pose some issues just in terms of getting her posed and having her sitting up the way you want her, while, you know, not necessarily having the blade fall out, because it can pop apart. So that's one thing to just keep in mind. She does come with another lightsaber, just the hilt itself. So, you know, I don't know what you're supposed to do with this really, because she doesn't ever have it anywhere other than the backpack. You could just, you know, use this, maybe put this on your Snoke throne with your Black Series or something like that. It's just the same thing that we've got up here, so nothing too crazy. And mentioning that, she does have the backpack. So you could pop the head off, slide it up her arm, and put it on. Again, this is something that I'm not going to use. I don't intend to use this in my display. I appreciate the inclusion because it's true to the character, but at the end of the day, I don't think anybody really needs this. You can't open it or anything, so you can't put the saber in there. It's kind of tight on her as well. Not that that's a bad thing, but it doesn't necessarily add a whole lot of value to the figure, I don't think. Now, as far as hands go, we do have a decent number. There are 8 total hands, so a few more than the guard. We've got 2 trigger finger hands. We've got 2 closed-fisted hands. We have got a set of gripping hands, and then we have a set of kind of open palm, just kind of generic style open hands as well. So not tons. We have a few choices here in terms of what she comes with for accessories, and then, you know, just kind of a standard assortment for your normal Figuarts. And then her last accessory, and I guess maybe the biggest one that she comes with, is an extra kind of face/half head. So one thing that you see a lot with Figuarts is that they come with swappable face plates, and that kind of poses problems from time to time, because especially with characters that aren't, you know, masked or anything like that, where you'll see a cutout on their head around their hairline. They didn't do that for Rey. They actually made it so that the hair is part of the swap. So it's a peg on the top of the head inside, and then you can pop this other head on. So the line, the seam, is actually on the top back of the head, so you really don't ever see it. As far as this head sculpt itself goes, I think it's pretty good. I don't like it as much as the static expression, which is kind of unfortunate because I'd rather have her posed with this head sculpt, but it's something that is slightly off. I think it's not perfect. There's a little bit in there that doesn't really look a lot like Daisy Ridley when she is in kind of her, angry state that we see a few times in the movie. So I'm going to use the more neutral face in my display. I do appreciate the inclusion of this, and it's good for, photo shoots and things like that, but I don't think that it 100% looks correct in all angles or in all lighting. I am pretty happy with these overall. I think the droid is, if you don't care about the droids, then they are irrelevant. The only reason I got them is because I bought the figures together at the same time. Again, I dig the guards. I really, really like their design. I like everything about them. I prefer these to the Black Series. I just wish that they were not so damn expensive so I could get a full set of Figuarts guards, but that's just not going to happen. And then Rey is a pretty good figure as well. I think in terms of the true new entries in the Figuarts line this year, I'd have to say that I prefer Kylo Ren to the Rey figure, just in terms of overall figure, but I'm really happy to have finally gotten a Rey. I think she is executed pretty well. She does have a few drawbacks with a little bit of articulation, that collar joint, and then having issues kind of posing her in certain ways just does bug me. But as a general figure, the aesthetic is right, the sculpt is good, the overall look is solid. So that's going to do it for this review. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you guys think, and until next time.